Yeah. Okay. Hello, this is Athena Jezik again. I'm going to be working on Jessica, and I'm going to be demonstrating a back massage, and I'm going to show you the protocol that I've done, the routine that I've done over the years. It's an interesting one, and it's very thorough, and people have liked it. So with that, we'll get started. I want to thank you, those of you on Patreon. I want to thank Otto K, Laura B, and Malik Tube. Thank you so much for your patronage. It's definitely appreciated. I need a little bit more oil here for the lower back. I want to give this to you in a little bit of a routine because I know that there are people who have over the years have tried this on their partners and they've actually enjoyed trying it. Both people felt good about it. So I will explain a lot what I'm doing. I just start by brushing open the shoulders and checking the trapezius muscles. And we have that little bit of a tension right here, which is the levator muscle. That's a very common muscle to be tight. It works to lift the scapula. Primarily, it has some other functions along with other muscles. I just take my thumbs here and run down the spine on either side of the bones and then brush upward. Now the heart is, placed in the front of the body about here, so you don't have to worry too much about the pressure of either direction because it's a little bit different in the back than in the extremities. And then work the hands up, going around these scapulas. Here's the scapula here. And then I like to go one down and one up, so it gives a little feeling of kind of a stretch in the middle there. As you see, the skin can be pushed down and up. Okay, and then down again. And pulling it back up. Okay, then you can go to either side to start with. I'll start over here on the right side, and here we want to get up. Now, one of the things when you're doing massage is go from origin to insertion as much as possible. There's nothing more frustrating than somebody who just works, kind of doesn't quite get to the whole muscle. It just feels incomplete. So your skill set, if that's all that's happening, isn't going to be a very high skill set. Now again, this isn't done with a lot of pressure. These are bigger muscles, and so the pressure is a little bit more, but it's still at the point where the muscle is allowing me to go that deep. It's letting me into that area. Now here it gets a little tricky, going across the rhomboids and part of the trapezius. There's a few layers here to consider. You really can get down and actually palpate some of the deeper structures, but you have to enter into that at the subtle techniques to get into that part of the body. And then I like to go across these scapula area, just bringing it upward. And then kind of following the whole bone, takes it in a very nice direction. And then here's the top of that scapula right here. Here's where that muscle is attaching, the levator muscle, and around. So while I'm here at the shoulder, I'm going to be lifting up the shoulder slightly and just having my hand underneath it. I don't like to take the arm and put it on the back because there's issues that I've run across where people have been bound or maybe some kind of an experience where they felt bound or held, and that can trigger some things as the tissue memory remembers some trauma that may have happened. So instead I just hold that shoulder down and then lift the shoulder to get the scapula to lift just enough to get underneath to the subscapularis and work along that edge. You can come up and you can also go to the other side. Now here you can also work yourself in and just allow that muscle to open up, and you can get a little deeper with it. You can add a little shaking to it if you want and lift it a little bit more from the shoulder. And then bring it around. Then taking the muscle in a different direction with the effleurage, starting down at the shoulder and then moving this way in, moving toward the midline, coming up through here. And then just kind of brushing it around. Then taking your hand and going along the back, around the scapula, and brushing through these back muscles, kind of like a wrapping sensation down to the lower back, right where the hip crest is. It's actually the back of the hip, but it's right on the edge of it. And then you can work the muscle along that edge. There's a lot of attachments on the hips from the upper and lower extremities and middle ground. That's why it's very important for you to keep looking at anatomy books, pictures. I know you can find it online, but it seems like the books are, of course I like books a lot better than looking at it on the computer. It seems like the books are sometimes a little more detailed. Okay, now I'm going to ride this up the spine. What I found there was a little bit of tension. And I'm just taking it all the way up into the neck so that I'm getting all the way from origin to insertion or insertion to origin, however that is played out. Now I'm going a little bit more center. I was right along the bone for the first one. These are thumb irons. Up into the neck. And then this one is more on the outer side of this erector spinae. It's the big backstrap muscle. Up and then bringing it back down. I like to come down with a little bit of pulling, getting into the spine and pulling it to the side. We're more on the erector muscle. There's other muscles involved, but it's like picking that muscle up. Again, you're not working deeply with pressure. You're working as deep as the body is allowing, and you stay melded to the body, to the tissues, coming back down, and then I curl my fingers and give it another ride up, right along the vertebrae. And to the shoulder, up to the neck, and then just bring it around to the shoulder. Okay. So there's the first side. And you do the same thing on the other side. Okay, on to the left side. We start up here and pulling down through that shoulder. And feeling those muscles there. This is basically the trapezius, but there are some other structures there that you'll feel. Sometimes when you bump over something, people might think that it's some kind of tension, but that's where it's important to know the anatomy of these muscles, because sometimes you're just going over a muscle that is got another muscle underneath it that makes it feel like it's something different, and it's not really anything pay attention to as far as something that's tight and needing to be worked on a little bit differently. So we go down that direction. Then we're going to get into the shoulder. So here I slip my hand just right under the shoulder, let it kind of cradle in there, and then I lift up with my fingers. Primarily I leave my hand on the table and lift with the fingers, and we've got the scapula lifted enough to be able to feel underneath it. And here's some tension right here. And here we go. This is the other side of it. You can kind of get underneath it here. Be careful from this area because sometimes there's ticklishness that happens. So go slowly into that, the tip of the scapula, and back up through here. Okay. And then we do the other direction, going up into the neck. Make sure that you keep going along the whole thing. Don't just stop there and take your hands off, but keep it all the way to where it's attaching. I mean, that really does make a difference in how the massage feels and the kind of work that is being done when the entire muscle is addressed. So we're going to just keep going down. Now you go from the edge of the scapula and then work inside of here. So you're getting rhomboids and trapezius. You're able to kind of address those muscles pretty well when you do it like this. And then finishing it off. This is just kind of like polishing it in a way. And then you're going to take that hand and pull these wrapping kind of strokes down over the rib cage and then down into the lower back. Again, there's the hip. You're going to just work those thumbs. You don't want to do a lot of thumb wagging. You want to keep the thumbs kind of in alignment, but they do look like they wag, but there's a difference between the real thumb wagging. That'll wear your thumbs out. Your thumbs will get worn out anyway. That if you wag them, they get a little out of alignment, so that takes them out faster. Now I've gotten all that worked out. It's pretty soft. Now I'm going to go up right next to the vertebrae with the thumbs. Now there's a lot of subtle structures here that are of a higher frequency that also come into play. I particularly feel that the meridian system does run up the back. There's a governing vessel. And I haven't really connected yet how all that works, but the spine is an important thing to address. And then, so you move out each time you go up, you move out a little bit more. Okay, and then work yourself down. Okay, and then here, I'm going to do this from one side, but this one is where your thumbs are going to go along the spine and just lift up the muscle a little bit, just taking it up. And back down, and then you can do the same thing on this side. This is getting ready to do. This is just pushing it. You can do it with your fingers too if you need to. And that's kind of getting underneath those attachments. You're stretching the muscle somewhat. And then bring that back down. And then the brush up. And kind of finishing off, polishing it. Now I'm going to go to the other side to show you the other spine work that's done. Starting with 2 fingers, one on each side of the vertebrae, up very much at the base of the skull. You don't push very hard, but your fingers are on either side, and then this hand is going to work to vibrate it. So you just have to vibrate it down. This takes a while to work, and you want to follow that spine. Okay, and then you can pull from both sides of the erector muscle. You're kind of getting on the edge of them, but you're pulling it back in. So we stretched it out, and now we're stretching it in. All the way up. And then taking the fingers again, and this time I'm going to rock it more. Instead of vibrating, I'm going to rock it back and forth. Well, there's different ways you can do this. This is like a vertebral vibration. And then stretch it out here at the hips. And then take it back up slowly, slowly, slowly. And while you're doing this, you're also kind of pulling aside. You're pulling laterally, but you're staying into that muscle, but you're pulling laterally. Now, some of this is kind of hard to do because it's a different kind of a feel of what you're normally doing, and it's not usually taught like that unless the massage schools have changed a great deal. But so you're giving it a little bit of a two-way action. You're here, you're pushing upward, but at the same time you're pulling outward. So you have to be very concentrating on staying right where the bone is, and you're pushing upward, but then you're also pulling it outward because you have to stay next to that bone, next to all the vertebrae. So it's a little bit something that you'll have to practice with. Okay, so I went up here, finished it off there, stretch out through the shoulders, and then you can take it back down, just a slide down, and then wrap the body, wrap the muscles upward. I'm going to do the wrap on this side. I usually go to the other side, but I'll wrap it this way. It's harder to do when you're on the same side, but you'll get the idea, because sometimes you have to walk back and forth around the table, and then you can pull that down as well. So you wrap it around in the front, and this can be done in the different order, a little bit different order. But basically, you can modify this, but this is basically, if you follow the basics of this, you'll give your partner or your clients a good massage, a good back massage. And then go a little bit here where the trapezius is coming into the neck, because this is oftentimes very tense, very tight. And then what I like to do at the end is a little bit of pushing energy in. That's another technique that has to be practiced, and learn how to do that. But all you have to do is just lay your hand on there where you feel like you're barely touching the skin, and just ride it up really, really, really slow. It's just a nice, really relaxing thing, and there is an energy transference that goes on here. But again, this we're starting to get into some of the subtle stuff, so that's another whole ball game. And just keep going, and sometimes you'll feel kind of, I don't know, I've often felt people just, their muscles relaxing even deeper when I do this. And just take it all the way up. Up, 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 and then you want to finish by getting up to the base of the skull, and then just a little network, and then you can brush up, And then you want to take and cover their back up. And I like to just kind of take the oil off of them like so. You know, if it's a setting where you're in an office, they'll be getting dressed, and it's nice to have a little bit of that oil, even though it's pretty well absorbed. And then if you want, you can just go up and do a little bit work on the neck, just to kind of let them know that you're done. A little bit of scalp, just to kind of let them know that, you know, everything's coming to a close, if it is. Or you can move to the lower legs and the legs and the arms, and you know, you can do it in any order. I have typically started with the back, and then just do that, and you can just rub it a little bit more and take it up that spine and brush it off. And there we have it. If you like these videos, you can get more of them over on Patreon. And if you're interested in going deeper into the massage work with subtle anatomy, check me out at my website. Thank you so much for viewing, and I hope you enjoyed it. See you later.